The last round of the FIA GT Championship was in May at historic Silverstone. After a brief sprinkling of rain in practice, Sunday was a very warm and sunny race day. The Lister was on pole on its home circuit with number 12 Belmondo Viper alongside. Mike Hazelman's attempt to improve on fourth place in qualifying was hampered by bad traffic. The Lister, as expected, stormed the start and took the lead, already threatening to run away with the race, what's becoming a repeat of the domination of the Orica team last year. The number 12 Viper, with Boris Richburg taking the opening stint, holds on to its second place starting spot, but utter disappointment for the number 3 Porsche, Volkan Kaufmann, as he retires the car. Von Gartzen held out longer on the pit stop and closed up positions before finally making a stop. Then came the drama in the Lister camp as the number 14 car heads into the pit lane for a 10-second stop-and-go penalty for pit lane speeding. Despite the penalty, the Lister still held the lead from number 12, but the 25 Viper had been closing on second place. Then the gearbox of the number 12 Viper gives up big style, and that is the end of the chase, promoting the 25 Viper to second place. Final lap, the final turn for the Lister, and as the checkered flag is unfurled, despite that penalty, takes its third win of the season. Julian Bailey and Jamie Campbell-Walter go to the top of the table together now, with David Hart and Mike Hazelman's right behind them, followed by all-sorted Belmondo boys and then a clutch of Porsche men. The fourth podium finish of the season for the Lister team, and on home turf, that's always a bonus. Second and third places went to Mike Hazelman and then Paul Belmondo. After an excellent drive on a circuit he's always liked, Christophe Bouchou grabbed the NGT result and maximum points ahead of the three-man Red Bull crew in second spot. That puts Christophe Bouchou 5 points clear at the top of the NGT points table from fellow driver Patrice Guzlov. Then it's the 51 pairing of Neugarten and Smith. After starting its season in late March at the Spanish circuit of Valencia, the GTs have made their way through the rains of Portugal to the sun of Monza and latterly Silverstone. Hungary halfway point in the calendar, the latest news is that the German round in September has been switched from Hockenheim and will now be at the inaugural meeting at the new Lorsitzring alongside the DTM. The fabulous, challenging Hungaroring just outside Budapest, the host for round 5. This then is what the circuit looks like as we drive on board the Porsche 911 of Conrad and Von Gartzen through the start-finish straight, braking heavily down through the gears for this tight turn 1 as they go right-hand. Opens out slightly up through the gears before braking hard again into an almost blind left-hand turn and into the nest bend. No easing up as they head out straightwards and up the hill towards the back section. Fast, sweeping right-hand turn before into a left-hand that takes them further up the hill before turning right. Up through the grandstands and out along towards the back straight, hard on the brakes, right-hand turn, over the curbs, left-hand turn, another left-hand turn, then another series of fast sweeping S-bends, vicious gravel tracks either side of the track. Then a sharp, almost 90-degree right-hand turn, down on the brakes, down through the gears, very hard, then back over the curbs, back on the gas momentarily. Slight slightly downhill after this right-hand turn. Straightens out into a sharp right-hander again, and then it's the climb back up the hill. Almost hairpin like right-hander, the last turn then before it's out onto the start-finish straight and heading for the start of another lap. Bright Hungarian sunshine, the order of the weekend at this F1 facility just outside the country's capital of Budapest. A tight and twisty circuit, as you've seen. It's hard on tyres and brakes and hot running for the drivers as well. As always, 2 qualifying sessions. The second afternoon session, the air and track temperatures had risen dramatically. The 11 Viper leads out the Nürnberg 51 Porsche 911, and then it's Bailey, Campbell Walters, and Lister Storm. On the track, 52 Beschüsen Gooselage Porsche 911, 11th fastest in the first session, 14th in the second, equating to 11th overall, and the 6th row start for the highest NGT. The distinctive yellowed liveried Chrysler Viper of number 11, Claude-Yves Gouselin and Paul Belmondo. They went 4th fastest in the first morning session, and their pit box was a hive of activity for both sessions, with both drivers taking turns at the qualifying runs and altering setups to try and gain a little more speed and less time. The Belmondo camp equally busy for the second session, with the 12 Viper of Boris de Richburg and Vincent Voth concentrating on race setup, not expecting to improve on the morning's 3rd fastest time. Meanwhile, the other Paul Belmondo Racing Viper was 5th in the afternoon session and working on a similar plan. The way it evened out when the session times were combined, but the 11 Viper 4th fastest and the number 12 pairing of de Richburg and Voss 3rd fastest. Current championship leaders Bailey and Campbell Walter, 2nd in the first session, went fastest in the second, but took the fastest time in the second run, and that was still only good enough for 2nd fastest overall. Pole position was to be reserved to the other lister of Nicholas Springer and Philip Four. Four set the fastest time in the first session, some 2/10 faster than his teammates in the other lister. Not bad going from a driver who's just getting to know the circuit. No one could beat the fastest time set in the first session of 1:38.138, and combined with the 2nd fastest time in the final session, the job was a good one and the top row spot theirs. This was Four's first international pole position for 11 years. Race day and the skies were the nicest of blues, and the scene was set for the start of 126 laps, or a 3-hour race that was set to explode around the Hungaroring. Julian Bailey was set for his usual first stint drive, and his eyes will be firmly set on being the first car into turn 1. De Richburg and Voss had topped the morning warm-up time and again had been preparing for the race, bedding in brakes. Paul Belmondo would be performing the opening honours driver-wide in his Viper, starting from the 2nd row. Not such a good qualifying for Mike Hazelman, with traffic preventing him from improving on both his session times. Start line neighbour on the 3rd row is Ernst Palmberger in the first of the Porsches, and as always, they'll be hoping to try and keep up with the mighty Vipers and the Listers. The preparations are over, and it's just a formation lap to go now before the green light signals the start of the furious charge along the pit straight. On board with Jürgen von Gartzen, who's behind number 4 Ernst Palmberger, as they weave their way down the pit straight to get some heat into the tyres and start heating up the brakes. Some say it makes a difference, some say it doesn't. That's the way they'll carry on until the last of the turns before they hit the start-finish straights for the green light. So the grid then, how it lines up with Springer and 4 alongside Bailey Campbell-Walter on row 1. Pole position time 1:38. The early times are going to be a lot slower than that, of course. The Richburg and Voss, Ghislain and Belmondo, the 2 Vipers on row 2. Row 3, and it's Hazemans and Hart and Palmberger and Haynes. Finally, row 4, and it's Coulter and Volek and Conrad and Von Garten. So then, almost a complete lap of the circuit in formation. Get a good view of the tarmac. The pace car peels off. They'll be looking now for the lights, the race director, to decide whether they're in formation correctly, and if so, there'll be the green light round the final turn. Approaching the start line, the light goes green, the hammers go down, roar from the engines, and it looks to be the number 14 Lister that takes into the first turn. It's the Belmondo Viper that's next to him. Hazemans there, and then it's the other Belmondo. 15, 12, 14, 11. We make it. There's a collision on the first turn, and that is the number 11 car of Paul Belmondo, and also the number 14 Lister Storm has gone out. Action, disaster, first turn, lap 1. Is this a sign of things to come? But cleanly away out into the lead is number 15, a perfect start. On board just after the start with Julian Bailey in the Lister. There's Paul Belmondo in the Viper alongside, and leaves the brake until later on. And will we see what happens? But you can see him fighting the wheel, gets nudged from sideways, I think, and goes off. And that is how you see the incident from Julian Bailey's side. Gets back underway again. Let's have a look this time. We're on board the number 5 Porsche of Jürgen von Gartzen at the wheel. And that's the orange Viper there, Mike Hazeman in front. There on the left-hand side is the Lister Storm. The Belmondo just twitches and seems to touch the Lister, but difficult angle to make out. And the onboard car goes through without problems, and it's a retirement. The damage obviously too much, too critical for number 11 Paul Belmondo, and out of the race. We look to see if we can pick up Julian Bailey, but this is the race leader, and Paul Belmondo just unplugging himself and gets out of the car. But that is the race leader then. Race order 15, 12, 25, 5, 4 and 1. And a good start then for the number 15 car from pole position to lead the race on the opening lap. And through to finish that opening lap goes number 15, race leader. Philippe 4 at the wheel. There's Mike Hazemans in third place. And we're on board once again with Julian Bailey. And seems to be fairly slow, must say. We don't know as yet the extent of the damage to that car. We haven't seen any shots from the outside. It doesn't seem to be at race pace. Second place, Viper, number 12. And there is number 25 in third place. Into the pits, an early corner. That's Luca Riccatelli in the 77 Porsche. So problems, obviously, as we rejoin number 15, race leader, Philippe 4. Second and third already starting to space out. And it's a retirement for number 77. So disappointment for them in the early parts of the race as they get pushed into the garage through the heat haze. Race leader Philip 4, later hanging over to, of course, his co-driver Springer. But for certainly the next few laps, it's all going to be down to Philippe to pull out, keep and extend the lead where possible. And a couple of seconds, I'd say now, the gap between him and Boris de Richburg in the number 12 Paul Belmondo Racing Viper. And then back to Mike Hazelman's. Already had one win this year. There's the Lister of Julian Bailey into the pitch. You can see the damage to the front end. And the question is the damage too much? It looks like it, because Bailey is out of the car and the Lister retires. So one Lister out in the lead, one Lister back in the garage already. And Boris de Richburg chasing hard. So too Mike Hazelman's on the opening stint for the 25 car. Through the S's as the 14 car is pushed back into the garage. Race leader, and we can hear now from Julian Bailey.
Yeah, it's very disappointing to come all this way, spend all the time and money we have and get taken out of the first corner, but that's motor racing.
Well, his words tend to imply that it wasn't his fault, but a racing incident nonetheless. I think it will be considered as. And the race order no change: 15, 12, 25, 5, 1 and 4. We look for those. And you can see the number 1 Chamberlain Viper pitting its might and power against one of the many Porsches. And won't be long before passes that. First and second in the race, first and second on the road. As we go to a replay then, we're on board with number 1 Stephen Watson in the Chamberlain Viper, behind the number 5 Porsche with Jürgen van Gartzen behind. And this is what we saw before. This was the chase out along the start-finish straight, out of the final turn, flat out along, get in the slipstream if he can, makes his move, looking for the outside line, goes wide and manages to carry the momentum around, doesn't make it through. Porsche pulls out and he looks through for the inside, not there, looks round for the outside, not going to happen there this time. Both get the power on down to this next sharp right hand, and then it's the climb to the hill. And back to almost where we left off. Boris de Richburg in the number 12 Viper, the Chrysler Viper, in second place and hunting down race leader. There is race leader, and through the start-finish line, another one of the laps down. 3 hours or 126 laps, whichever is concluded first. And there's third place Mike Hazelman's, and this is that battle still with the number 5 Porsche and the number 1 Chamberlain Viper. We're back on board with the Chamberlain, this load shot. You can see the speed as they head down through the tarmac, rushing away, and he's on the outside. This is exactly what he did last time, and it didn't work. Will it work this time? He's closer, pushing the Porsche on the inside, but no, it doesn't happen, and looks to go around the outside this time. So going to the left-hand series of S's, and looks as if he's got it. He's got the position, slams the door, brakes, and then gets the power on, ready to climb once more. And position gained. There you see the confirmation. And number 1 Stephen Watson successfully passing number 5. And then it's number 4, the Heinen Palmberger Porsche. Number 1 now in 4th place. On board once more. This is the replay again, but the view from the front of Jürgen van Gartzen's number 5 Porsche. We're looking for number 1 Stephen Watson to go past, and there he is, locked in front. 4th place. Thank you very much, and goodbye. Well, a lot can happen in this race. A long time to go. We may just get him back. And definitely still the race leader, and looks to have pulled out just a little bit of track now on second place man Boris de Richburg in the number 12 Chrysler Viper. There it is, rounding that final turn. He heads out, the clock down, another lap. The temperature here still very, very hot indeed. Drivers anticipating temperatures in the cockpit around about 70 degrees, believe it or not. And that is with the airflow moving through the car. And these two pretty close indeed now. That was the 5 and 4 car. And that is the leader of the NGT class, number 52, Christophe Bouchou in the Porsche. And I don't know whether it looks very much then as if he got some damage to the bodywork. We'll have to wait till we see another shot, maybe this time. And definite damage to the rear end of the Porsche. Yes, indeed, it's torn away. It doesn't look to be causing too much of a problem, but let's hope the suspension isn't damaged at all. The car certainly seems to be handling okay, not causing too many worries for him. As we pick up the battle between 5 and 4. 4 having a look onto the inside, and through goes number 4, past the Jürgen von Gartzen driving number 5. And number 4 makes up a place. Ernst Palmborger passes. And a little scrap has now passed. And can he fight back now? Because he's in the GT class, and that's the leader of the NGT class, number 52. Still in control of the race, Philippe Paul behind the number 15 wheel. Philippe, to give him his proper pronunciation, Boris de Richburg. I'm sure that's right. In the number 12 Viper in second place. Where is third? There is third, Mike Hazelmans. And lost the headlight. I'm sure it'll be the last of his concerns. But in third place and falling behind slightly, just losing a little bit of time on the leading pair on each lap. The NGT leader, well, despite that damaged rear end, does not seem to be causing any problems for him, and still circulating steadily here at the Hungaroring. And almost a lonely race for him at the minute. There's nobody chasing behind him. There you get a good, look how lucky that car has been not to suffer worse damage. It may just be causing slight aerodynamic faults at the back, but certainly lucky not to suffer any major damage as he heads through the start line. Another car just behind him. Can't quite see who that is at the moment as they come closer towards us. You pick up on the yellow pencil of number 50, Magnus Vollander. Porsche 996 is chosen to see another in the NGT. In fact, he's running second in the NGT class at the moment. Lap 14 and 27, Fabio Villa in the Porsche 911 in the pits with problems. Cuts the engine and could be the end of the race if the mechanics deem the problem too severe to fix, but they're still having a good go. And stopped on the track, that's Andre Ahl, and broken suspension, we're told. The NGT leader streams through. The cars still making their way, of course, backing off with the yellow flags until the green one. And 53 certainly suspension wise as they marshal Fulham out of the way, and of course make the track safe once more. We're back with the race leader now in amongst the traffic, and already past number 22, the with Porsche 911. So far so good then for the leading Lister Storm. The 14 car that won the last round at Silverstone. It's not going to be that one this time, but could it be the 15? And that looks to be the end of the race for the three-man crew of number 27. And no doubt disappointment for them. And round once more for race leader Philippe Paul. On the opening stints, of course, changing over to Springer at the first pit stop, which will be quite a way away yet. The team, of course, disappointed to lose the 14, but hopeful for the 15. And that's number 50, Magnus Wallander, that's about to be lapped by the race leader. And it just goes to show how much more quicker the GT cars are. The NGT class will slightly slower, yes, but excellent racing in their class as well. And the blue flags warning the back markers to get out of the way. That was the 66 car, I think, that gets the blue flag treatments. Figaro and Bapati. And we're back with the 52 car, the NGT leader. Number 5 Porsche we saw just before that, Jürgen van Gartsen just ahead of him. Skip through on the bumps. And let's have a look. That's in slow motion. The driver, you can see, working ferociously at the wheel. Back in real time once again. Fighting that car all the time. Change to the bodywork, and race leader now up behind number 5, Jürgen van Gartsen, and about to be lapped. Of course, he doesn't want to slow down too much. He has his position to maintain, but he will try and make it easy in there. He does this time, moves wide and allows the race leader through, and he'll be merrily on his way. Just see the power of that lister just eking away. Closes under braking this time, but the power's on and starts pulling out again. Jürgen on the curbs, using all the track that he can. It's a very abrasive surface. You can see the rubber being laid down. Second place then, number 12 Forrester Richburg, and coming up behind the NGT leader Christophe Bouchou, and very quickly going to catch him. He gets on the power out of that turn once again through the S's. Will close up on the braking. See just eking slowly towards the car as they head round to the start-finish line. Probably going to be Elton Neyland as he closes a lap. Close behind him now and looking for the way past, and Bouchou will have to yield very soon indeed, and de Richburg will be very keen not to lose too much time. It becomes an advantage, of course, for the race leader into the final turn, and this time he'll be ready for him. We should see Bouchou be sporting and move well out of the way, but the Viper should have no problems at all in nailing him down the start-finish line. And there he goes. And Bouchou defers, obviously, as he has to, and no chance of outrunning the Viper. And passed and lapped. And de Richburg now will have to try and catch up on the time that he's lost, that has been given back to the race leader. Slowly starting to pull away here. Headlights on, just the one headlight for third place man Mike Hazelman, and then a whole gaggle of cars fighting for position. And that is the number 55 car, Constantino Bertuzzi, the 996. And this is Kurt Thal in the 911 Porsche, the number 6 car. The Conrad ahead of the 66. And Mike Hazelman's in the orange liveried Viper. We're so used to seeing that in red, so I can't claim to understand the reason why, although I have my theories, but I shall keep them to myself this time. And out on his own. Nothing immediately in front, and well, there's the Conrad Porsche just behind him now. It's a lonely race at the moment, and he shouldn't have too much difficulty keeping up his momentum, but he said still not catching the second place, number 12, Viper of Forrester Richburg. And the pit stops have started. This is where it could get interesting as second place heads into the pits, Forrester Richburg. And there you see Vincent Voss ready to change drivers. Fuel going in first. And driver change. No tyres can be changed until the refueling has been finished. And Vincent Voss being helped into the seats as we're back with race leader, of course, Mike Hazeman's now second place. Of course, that will only be until his pit stop. And pit stop finished. Vincent Voss fires up the Viper and exits the pit lane. And pit speed restriction, of course. We saw the winning Viper number 14, Julian Bailey, fall foul to that the last round, but back onto the track. And of course needs to make up time, but got to go steady, get the tyres up to operating temperature once again. And of course the others to make pit stops, but the first of the pit stops. And refueled, and 21, Gabriel Matuzzi in the spin, but back on the way again. A bit of excitement there as the race leader interview. I think that might have been 21 that he was passing. Stand to be corrected. And the lister expected to go a little while longer yet before pit stop. Let's have a look at the replay of 21 getting free form and just almost spins it, stops it, but then spins it, but doesn't get back underway again. And still on the way, still in the lead of this race here in Hungary, round 5. And race leader, number 15, Lister Storm. Springer still to take over, and it finally comes in for its pit. Starting to close up now on some more traffic. Just caught a glimpse. You should see who it is in a moment. It's Hazeman's. It's the third place Hazeman's who is touring. Problem for Mike Hazeman's. So what the problem is, we just do not know, but hopefully find out. He looks to be just hoping to get to the pits. And through goes one of the Porsches. Didn't quite catch the number there, and Hazeman's slow, agonising process, and cars just flying past now. Not good news at all. Slowly heads towards the pit lane entrance. Long limp into the pits, but Mike Hazeman has made it. And the mechanics to obviously check over the car, but the driver change happening now. It will be Hart who takes over. Throwing the open face helmet, he climbs in, and the report we've got is that it was a loose rear tyre, the problem, and that is the number 1 Viper brought into the pits by Stephen Watson in third place after overtaking Hazeman. Hillers takes over, and of course this is the battle now. Can Hazeman get out to take back that third place? Hazeman's out, and I think that's still the Chamberlain car is still in, and that is Hugh Chamberlain, the team principal, who shuts the door. And a bit concerned, but out goes the car, but Hazeman's and got the position back. Indicates for politeness and good measure, I think. And I think out into about 4th or 5th place. We'll have to wait and see when the pit stops come round once more, or settle out once more. But the Chamberlain team with only one car out here in Hungary. The other car still being rebuilt from damage. Lap 34 and number 21 Matsui in for scheduled pit stop. Fuel nozzles on one each side, quicker refueling. Driver change this time will be to Sangulio as race leader passes number 55 Bertuzzi in the pits with 21 still, strapping the driver in, fuel still going on, and the tyre mechanics ready to change wheels, and we will of course be heading very soon for the pit stop. Confusing that, problems for 21. Well, we saw 21 in the pits before, and 21, and well, it's not engine because it's not happening all the time. Is it a suspension problem? It seems to be on the turns there. The bodywork definitely scraping against the tyre, and well, the number 5 Porsche will be concerned if it's oil, but it's not. It is tyre smoke, of course. And seems to be some sort of broken suspension at the rear, I would think, and that is not going to be easy to repair in a pit stop. And definite suspension is the front end lift up. Replay of the Lister running wide onto the grass. Dear oh dear, just ran very, very wide, gets onto the grass. This cannot be the end. Turns it sharply onto the tarmac. Is he going to regain it? Yes, he does. And heads in for a pit stop now. Those tyres will be very dirty indeed and a little bit more worn in the pit stop window. So heads in, mechanics in, and will be a driver change. And Springer takes over. The 21 car has made it in, but it is a retirement, so disappointment for the crew there. Meanwhile, fresh boots, fresh rubber going on to the race leader, the Lister. Replay here, that is the 56 car having an excursion through the gravel track. Well, not so much gravel as small rocks, to be honest, and they are vicious as well. And bodywork damage there will be. Hope that it shan't stop him, but he's already pretty well taped up, to be honest, at the front as the Lister heads back onto the track. Now, has he regained his lead position? Mike Hazelman's with, in fact, it's Hart now that's driving and gets it sideways and corrects it viciously and just stops that sliding, and there it is. There's the confirmation that number 15 is still the race leader here in Hungary, but behind him the bright yellow car that is in second place, Vincent Voss behind the wheel, and difficult times because Springer still has to go fairly tentatively until those tyres are up to temperature, and look at the speed which Voss now is catching the race leader. He's going to have a look on the inside this time. Very, very dicey through, but Vincent Voss has got the inside line and takes the race lead from the number 15 Lister Storm. Well, led for most of this race, but on lap 40, the Lister down to second place now, and just could not stay ahead long enough. Have a look at this again, just towards the end of the start-finish straight. They go into turn one. Vincent Voss very late on the braking, and Springer on the outside line, but the Chrysler Viper goes through nice and tightly. Oh, and that is Hart. Well, we saw him correcting a spin or preventing a spin, but this time he wasn't so clever and has to take a quick trip, pick up some debris on those nicely hot tyres. As we're with number 50 now, Smith in 11th place so far. And this is a replay of his teammate number 51, Robert Nern, who gets the Porsche into a spin, almost makes it 360. And 79 Philip Peter, who passes to take 6th place. But this is 1st place. This is race leader number 12, Vincent Voss, having got past the black Lister Storm there, the cow-like design. In 2nd place after leading for the first 40 laps as number 1, the Chamberlain Viper of Illet on board, heads in, and Hugh Chamberlain there. I'm not sure what the story is. Maybe that is the scheduled pit stop, or is it a problem? We'll wait and see. Back with race leader, and seems to be just a fuel stop only, same driver. So a top up, and that is number 5 in for his scheduled stop. Tyres getting changed. The driver has been changed to Franz Conrad now. And we are with the race leader. That is the 2nd place man. Springer at the wheel, and that, of course, is the Chamberlain Viper back out after the pit stop and in danger of being lapped by the race leader, and we'll have to let him through. It will now be a lap down. Could just get that back when the lead car comes in for another pit stop. Nicely through there, the Sporting Chamberlain team. Great promoters of this sport. Here's a replay then, the Vipers battling it out, but position will always be taken, of course, by the leader, and that is number 12, the Paul Belmondo Racing Team. And here's a replay of Hart getting it grass track style, cutting the curb. That is number 4 in 3rd place currently, Hayne in the Porsche. I haven't seen much of him today, keeping out of trouble, which is the best thing to be doing, of course, in motorsports or any sports. And in comes the lead car for 2nd pit stop, and Richburg, who started the race, back in the seat again. All clear given, engine will fire up and takes back out to the pit lane, observing the speed limits, and then it will be drop the anchors once again, back out. And Richburg, of course, has to dial himself back and get used to the feel of the car, which will be different now. Get those tyres up to temperature, and that is the number 1 Viper. Up goes wide, was attempting to pass one of the NGT Porsches, and got past, but went very wide indeed, and heads into the gravel, and gravel too for Fransworth, and gets it sideways. Can he get back and recover that? Yes, he does, and a bit of battered bodywork, and we have now 52 passing 51, 52, the NGT leader, and cleanly past 51. And stays ahead, shouldn't be a problem. And led the NGT class all the way through. It seems to have lost a bit of bodywork, but that may have come off when the entered the pit for the pit stop. And these two now, this is number 3 Bob Wallach and number 4 Hayne. And Wallach, very close indeed, but 3 losing out there. You can see the rubber, those little black things on the tarmac is actually rubber marble, and one off the, excuse me, where's he going? On the grass again, heads back to the tarmac, and the number 1 Chamberlain, well, certainly making life interesting on board. And let's have a look at that again. This was the earlier one where it just got nudged out. No, well, this is the same incident then. And on the grass, heavily run off as we're back with the 2nd place race order, 12, 15, 4, 1, 5, 3 and 51. That's how it lines up at the minute, but a little out of sync with the pit stops, but no doubt that is the car And he's in second place. Still chasing hard. 5 and then 25. And Conrad and Mike Hazelman back in the car once more. The Prize the Viper. And off goes number 22 for an excursion through the gravel and a bit of motocross or rallycross, I think, for them, but out on the last lap now for number 12, and not much further to go now for race leader. And a car with a puncture. That's the 22 car we've just seen, and just desperately trying to get home. And well, if he stays behind the leader, then he'll be flagged after this one anyway. And there is the Lister, heads up behind the 79 car, and not too much further to go now for the race leader, and it's going to be a brilliant victory for the team, a team that worked so hard too, like them all do, but a lot of effort from the Paul Belmondo concern, and into the last couple of turns, and he will see the start-finish line, and he will see the checkered flag and will be delighted, like one of the other Porsches gone out, but through the start-finish line and takes the victory. Vincent Voss and Boris de Richburg score their first win, beating off the Lister crew of Thor and Springer by 23 seconds at the end. Chamberlain crew of Illet and Watson in the number 1 car took third place from the first Porsche home of Hain and Palmberger. No points today for Bailey and Campbell Walter, who are now equal after the points from the rain-soaked Portugal round have been evened out, and still those stay at the top, ahead of Hart and Hazelman on 21.5 points each. Champagne celebrations, and they will be loving every minute of that.
I don't know what to say, I'm just, exhausted, I'm finished. It's so hot in the car. Vincent did a good job as well. And then I was putting like the 21st lap and then cooling down, and the job was done. I have some bad luck in the last 2 years, but here we have done a very good race. The team worked very well, the 2 pit stops were great, and it's a win that all the team deserved, and I'm very happy for all of them, and for sure I'm also very happy for me.
Finishing 8th overall, Christophe Bouchou and Patrice Gusselin yet again are the winners of the NGT class. Confirmation of that result, and also the second place then that went to Nern, Neugarten ahead of Wallinger and Smith. So the podium celebrations too for the NGT class, and a real fight for the spray. The winning pair are still at the top of the NGT points table now after round 5, and now 17 points clear of the next man, Michael Neugarten, on 22 and Robert Nern on 20.
Everything was really good this weekend. The car was really a perfect setup. The condition, the metal, it was really warm, but except a small the start was a bit strong because one guy do a spin just front me, but after that everything was perfect.
Not such a long wait for the next round as the championship heads to another challenging circuit, Zolder in Belgium.